Again, it's good to see everybody here. I'm glad everyone was able to make it. And again, we just ask that you continue to be in prayer for people that of our church that are traveling and are with medical conditions, that they'll get to feeling better and that they don't have any extending lingering effects. And then also just today continue to remember the ones down in Florida and the experiences they're going through. And that's kind of what I'm preaching about, because tomorrow is September 11th, which was 9/11 up in New York. I was personally up there on that day and saw the first tower on fire, and then was up about 2 blocks from the buildings after they fell. And so I was kind of in the middle of things. And I saw expressions on people, just utter disbelief. They were unable to process and fathom what was going on, and also what they were going to be doing, how they were going to recover their lives. And then also people down in Florida are experiencing the same things today. They're in a situation, they're in a shelter. They hope that shelter holds up, and suppose they have been built by what we think to support withstand the type of hurricane that they're being hit with. But as we all know, never know for sure until the actual event happens, which we hope never happens, but it does. And so, I want to look at Psalms 91, verses 1 and 2. And how many of the people that don't know God, I can't imagine going through something like 9/11 as we observe the remembrances of the ones that lost loved ones and the ones that perished in that event tomorrow, and then the ones today that are going through the hurricane. How much of a hard time they're going to be having to deal with trying to understand what's going on and where to pick up their lives. And whereas compared to us as Christians, we understand that things happen, but we do know that God is ultimately in control, and He will sustain us through all this. Just as He sustained us through 9/11. And I'm sure each one of y'all remember exactly where you were when that happened. And I'm just like December 7th, 1941. You know, a lot of us here today don't remember that. Don't remember firsthand because we're young. But there's other people in the world that know they could probably, if they thought about it, they could probably say exactly where they were when they heard about the Japanese attacking Pearl Harbor. Just like they can remember where they were on VJ Day when the war ended, or when President Kennedy was shot, where they were. Again, some of us weren't alive then. But Psalms 91 is talking about God as protector. And we're supposed to rest in Him and take protection from Him. Starting in verse 1, it reads, "He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress. My God, in Him will I trust. And the rest of it is going on and talking about how God will protect everyone. Protect His people that come and gather to Him. This was actually a few years ago a Sunday school lesson developed by Promise Keepers of in a remembrance of 9/11. And they related a story of a guy who was out, and there was this big rainstorm came up. He was out west, and a big rainstorm come up. And he sought shelter under I can't remember if it was a big oak tree or a big fir tree. But it was big enough that he was able to get back in far underneath the limbs, that he was protected from the wind and the rain that was coming down around him. And that is the image of God that's being portrayed throughout this Psalms. Some of the verses refer to him as a hen, mother hen, gathering her chicks around her in the time of a storm. And God, the image we need to have of God is He will cover us and protect us from all of the storms and stuff that we're weathering. Now, one point I do want to make is this: we should not just depend on God and seek protection from God when we're experiencing strife or supernatural events such as Hurricane Irma or 9/11, but we should trust in His protection every day of our lives. Just like in the Sunday school lesson in Psalms 149, talks about we are to praise Him in worship services such as this that we're going to having, but then later on in that Psalms it says we are to praise Him at home. So we are to be praising God at all times, worshiping God, doing His work, and then remaining in Him at all times, so that when a catastrophic event such as 9/11 or the one that's going on in Florida now, Hurricane Irma, we will have peace and comfort knowing that God will protect us, even though we're going to be losing our life as far as the material items we've accumulated over the years, family photos that we would like to have kept, or cars or whatever. That's all material items that can be replaced. The one thing that cannot be replaced is our individual lives. And that is, we need to keep that in mind and know that God is in control. He protects, and He will deliver us from whatever is going on. You know, I'm sure there's people down there that may or may not know Christ or fully trust Christ, and yet they're worrying more about the material things, their house, their home, their cars, instead of worrying about their life. You know, everyone should worry more about their life and remember that the things of this earth are just temporary. There's nothing on earth that we can't live without. The only thing that we do need is God. We need God in our life all day long, every day, every year. We need God, and we need to depend on Him for our safety, protection, and salvation. And as I stated earlier, with being up at 9/11, I mean, it affected me. It was a very surreal experience to see these two big, strong buildings. They were designed to withstand being hit by planes, but the planes, when they were first designed, when the buildings were first designed, weren't as big as the planes that hit the buildings. But they were the biggest ones of the time. And so they were built to withstand that type of impact. And then over time, as the world grew and people started traveling and more planes were built, they started being built bigger and more powerful, then the buildings weren't as strong. They couldn't withstand the impact. But yet, there are people that still survived. Yeah, there was a lot more that died and lost their lives, but it wasn't for their lack of anything. It's just things that happened. But I'm glad I was away from it and not anywhere too near the site when it happened, but I was able to see the devastation that it has caused and just know I can understand what's going on down in Florida from the hurricane, because of what I saw up in New York. And I just pray that everybody down there stays safe and has peace and comfort and rejoices that they still have their life. And if you have never given your life to Christ and feel the need to, I urge you to come on down during the invitation and give your life to Christ. Or if you've never been baptized and desire baptism and membership in the church, come on down and make that known. And so as we get ready to sing the invitation, let's see what it is. 198. If you want to come forward and make something publicly known to us, whether you want to accept Christ or become a member of the church through baptism or whatever, come on down and we'll do that. Or if you just have something you want to pray to God about, you can either talk with me or just come up here to the altar and just pray to God and just lay it out before God and let Him have control of it. And so if you will, stand and hymn number 198.